Hi, everyone. Here we are. It's Wednesday, and we're always enjoying preparing for these conversations about topics that are relevant for the changing nature of today's work.
There's
Meaning,
always something,
this,
interesting to talk about.
yeah, that's the future of work. I mean, what is it? How do we navigate it? And what does it entail? And before we get started, we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting. And we're here every Wednesday at 4 with a topic that is either of interest to us, and therefore we hope it's interesting to you, or we hear about through our clients, and they always have interesting comments for us and opportunities to share. So today's topic, this effective navigation for the future of work. What intrigues you about that?
Well, I think one of the things that's most interesting to me is that we have different tools to navigate. We have so many different ways of approaching the future of work. We can use social media to do part of it. We can use online strategies. We can, use video and audio, and there's just so many things that we can do to approach the future of work.
Yeah, and to give an overview of what we do, every week, as I said, we're here with a different topic. And we have had for 30 years our company, Work Life Consulting. And what we provide are customized online coaching programs and in person, if the situation of the world permits, that help individuals, teams, and leaders achieve greater fulfillment in work and life. So I think always on our radar is this future focus. What is the future of work? How can we help our clients? Because as we know, 2021 was the big quit year. Why do you think people were quitting?
How could 45 million people be wrong?
Yeah. And I think why they were quitting is they had a chance to step back and look at their work and life.
Yeah.
And women were, they couldn't get out of the office fast enough because they could see that this was not only challenging given all the variables that existed, but also is it rewarding?
Yeah. Well, there's also look back 30 years. We've been doing this for 30 years. I mean, amazing. Think about what's changed just for us.
Yeah.
The way we do our work.
But also the world of work overall, the 100 years, we've been basically in the same frame of mind.
Yes.
Really?
150 years. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
The late 1800s. And the separation of work and life, number one, which is one of my pet peeves, is that everybody thinks that it's something that's always been like that. Before the Industrial Revolution, your work in your life was one thing. If you were a cobbler, you cobbled all day long. And the whole family cobbled. If you were a roofer, everybody engaged in the roofing. If you were a farmer, everybody engaged in the farm. It was work and life were one thing. Then all of a sudden the Industrial Revolution came along and I went to work and then I went home. And I went to work and I went home. So it's really less, it's only 100, 150 years old that we've even had this separation. And now all of a sudden we're back. We're working out of the house again, and people are online all night. And I mean, I've got people that I'm working with in Europe, and you're dealing with people in Europe. It's amazing that our own virtual assistant is in Zimbabwe. I mean, hello, I couldn't even spell Zimbabwe 30 years ago. I still can't really, but I can at least sound out the words. But think about this: anybody even know what this thing is anymore? Can you imagine? We used to actually run our business with things like this.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that that's relatively a short period of time that we've gone from the concept of the disk to where we are today. Yeah. But, as we didn't know back then what would be coming next after that.
People talked about it. People predicted what was going to happen and nobody listened.
What we saw in just August 20 of 21, 65% of employees, 65%. And the other statistic that just blows my mind is 88% turnover rates, higher turnover rates. And this is all data from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So it's valuable data. I mean, this is what's going on in our world. So how does that impact individuals? I think what's going on with the big quit of 2021 is that people had a wake-up call.
They loosened the chains a little bit. We used to talk about things that used to be called the golden handcuffs. The golden handcuffs on me, and I have to stay with the job because I'm waiting for my retirement.
Yeah.
Well, today they look at you and they're like, well, you're still here?
Right.
You haven't moved on? You haven't tried anything else? I can remember when we first started doing career coaching. People were worried about trying to hide on their resume the fact that they had 1 or 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Now you walk in with a resume like that, they say, what have you been doing for the last 20 years?
Well, the shelf life of a position is less than 4 years.
Well, the shelf life of a job description is less than 3 months.
Yeah.
The life of a new competency, they're obsolete before they even had a chance to get any expertise in it.
So what are some of the factors then that are as a result of all of this turnover and the big quit is what's going on? And I think it's what our sweet spot is helping people look at what they need to do, how they need to take care of their future of work and life for that matter.
Yeah.
On their own. So if it's to be, it's up to me is my constant. It was my mantra before. It's now upfront and personal for me.
Well, we've always had the 4 core questions that we've asked. Who am I? That's a big question right there, because people are just starting to maybe discover things about themselves they didn't even know. Secondly is, what do I want? Where am I going? And how am I going to get there?
Right.
And just those 4 questions, even the answers to those things have changed so radically in the last 10 or 15 years. In the last year, I think they've changed a lot, because people have started to realize there's a lot of things that they've wanted to do that they haven't. And all of a sudden COVID comes along and you start realizing how brutally fragile all of this is. You want to, I'm going to wait around and hope that I do something 10 years from now. I'm going to do it now.
So we're Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting. If you're joining us during the live recording, or if you're after the fact and watching the recording, please leave a comment with anything we can do to help, or any questions or ideas you may have. We're talking about the future of work and how it impacts people as a result of the big great resignation of 2021. So what's gone on, what has been a result of all of this resignation, big quit, is that in organizational life today, there's skills displacement, careers are changing. I mean, like you said, 3 months, and requires lifelong learning.
I think that's the real point, is that the learning has changed so radically. 30 years ago, you get your degree, you get your certifications, you got something that was supposed to last you 30 years. Now you have to be continually learning. Doesn't mean you always have to be in school, but you have to be trying new things and learning new skills and learning new technology. It's a constant move.
Who do we quote?
Good old Bob Dylan.
Good old Bob Dylan.
If I'm not busy learning, I'm busy dying.
Yep. I mean, and it couldn't be. So it's like full circle. All the things that we have, taken seriously with the work that we talk about with our clients. And I think this one is interesting, the shifting skills gap. And this does not, in any research that I've been staying on top of as a result of all of this massive change, does not mean that we necessarily have to go out of our organizations to connect these skills. There could be somebody in another department who's a masterful marketer.
Right.
Or,
if the company supports it, the company has to support it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's the important thing. These 45 million people are leaving because those companies didn't wake up in time.
Yeah.
they should be creating environments internally to the companies that allow people to try new things and mentor and work with someone else and, customize their jobs to be able to fit the realities that they're working in.
So I think that the question to ask everybody is, what is a development goal that you're working on? Regardless of, and we're not talking about a performance review that's linked with your professional development, personal development, not at all. What we're talking about is that you create your own development plan. In our world, it consists of what's your current state? What are some of the gaps that you need to fill? What's the future aspiration? What are some of the gaps that you may need to fill? And are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah, well, that's a big one right there. I think everybody's become aware of the fact how important it is to protect yourself and to stay in shape and to try and ward off disease. But I think one of the keys to what you were just bringing up is the fact that so much of development is keyed towards the past. Performance reviews, just the idea of it is last year, the year before.
Right.
How about a proactive performance review? How about a performance review for what we want you to be doing in the future?
Well, it's a check the box mindset. And it's like going back to the future. There are no roads here. We are creating the future box.
Yeah.
And the key areas that are impacted, which I think they've always been here, but technology is at the forefront quickly because of the disruption and the change. But analytical and critical thinking, we cannot leave that to a robot. And leadership and interpersonal skills. I think those are big gaps. Those are big skill gaps that organizations are trying to come up to speed very quickly with. And on top of that, the Gen Z and millennials are looking for a sense of purpose in what they do.
Yeah.
So it's not only check off the box and I've got my skills set all up and current. No, is there some meaning for what I'm doing? And we found in our work that the remedy for this, regardless of the timestamp, is our Berkman Assessment. So the Berkman Assessment that can really get at addressing how you look at things. What's your perspective on this fast-changing world?
Yeah, it's amazing how relevant the Berkman has remained all these years.
Yeah.
It's been around for 70 years. I mean, we've been using it for almost 30.
Yes.
And it's as relevant today as it was then. It's one of the few things that's kept up with everything.
Yeah, because it's looking at your who you are, the essence of you, and how you change and how you adapt is still going to be applicable to how you answered this questionnaire. And that's why Dr. Berkman always said, go with the first one you ever took. Because that's the essence of who you are. Although I have a slight argument there because I think mine is much more meaningful.
Well, I think we're changing like everything else is changing. Maybe we're not changing, but we're developing.
Yeah. And so REDs talk about the action plan. So we need those REDs to put those gaps in place and come up with some sort of a quick win for people, because that's what people need. The greens are looking to personalize it. Now, how is it affecting me and my relationships? The blues need that time to think so they don't get lost in the shuffle. And just because people, seemingly are quiet, if they're blue, that doesn't mean they don't have a lot to contribute. Take it from one, who knows? And the yellow is laying the groundwork. The benefit for yellow is a precedence for where we got to where we are.
Yeah, so this is a tough one. It's probably the hardest one of all the colors because the precedent doesn't hold true anymore. If you're building your decisions based on precedent of what was happening in the last 2 years, it doesn't look anything like what's going to happen in the next 2.
Right. Well, I thought this was really interesting that 34%, and this is from a great research project called From the Future of Work. And 34% of employers look for evidence of continued learning.
Right.
But the way that people continue to learn is changing. So because we see continued learning in some facet on resumes, doesn't mean that that's the way the individual wants to learn, because 70% of especially the younger generations value the online certificates of learning, because everything has shifted so much to technology. Why wouldn't we go and enhance our skills,
Sure.
online? So I think there's one of the major, not only skill gaps, but major communication breakdowns in organizations.
Disconnects.
But regardless of how it is done, the investment around continuous learning and being able to quote unquote sell that is going to make or break the organization.
And I think it actually looks good on a resume to say that you've engaged in 2 years of personal coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody respects that.
Yeah. And so what we would love you to do is to check out our website. There's a quiz that's set up now on our website that's asking how emotionally smart you are, because I can't think of it. It just keeps enhancing, it just keeps building the need for emotional mastery, the need for emotional intelligence in this upside down world. So that way you can be a part of our work-life universe, and we can fill you in on all of the things that are going on. And we have some interesting programs coming up.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation. So thanks for listening. We'll be back next Wednesday. We'll close out with our dear friend Elliot Lewis with his wonderful music and message of we're in this together. So thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.